This pipe here continues to fill the pond, the grey water pond, with some excess water from the outflow of the water reservoir. And hopefully that will then fill also the upper swale for the benefit of everything there in the wannabe food forest. So this is supposed to be half joking, because I have been just there and now I'm walking back to where the camera is to grab it and then take it with me for another shot. So this is what all these YouTubers that you can see doing things, what they have to do all the time. They walk back and forth, just as I'm doing for this video, but only for this one. So and now you can see, when I step in front of the camera, how this goes. Without having someone filming, you have a lot of work, 3 times as much as when you just do the thing or report later about it. But now that I'm here, I can show you. So this box here is a redneck invention. I'm very proud of that. I am the German redneck in Spain, so this invention keeps the food up so that the sheep won't steal it, and Sakahawea gets the whole meal instead of a fraction of it. So let's give her the whole meal. And she also gets some straw. There is no hay around here, but I'm working on sourcing something close to hay for the future. So I now need to check if you could see that, and probably you could not. So let me turn this around so that you can see it. So she gets this pile of straw as some raw fodder, and you can see she definitely likes it. So these pellets here provide the energy, the protein and all that, and that provides the volume. But there is some type of hay available. And I'm trying to get this for her. So, and of course it is always difficult to stay in focus, because even if I turn the viewfinder around, it is very hard to see in the sunlight, and it's also very tiny. Which is, most of the time, you just see me talking, or hear me talking, and see whatever I want to show you, just right now. So making YouTube videos is actually a 2-person job. Or it's a lot of work. And some people are very good at that. And now back to the usual programming, the usual style. So there you can see the sheep. It is only 6 of them now, because the 7th got attacked by flies and yeah, did not survive the fly attack. Flies are the most deadliest animal in the world. They can easily kill an animal many times bigger than them. It is that they lay eggs somewhere in a wound, and then their larvae eat up the animal alive. That's very sad. And that is what happens if you cannot treat them in time. For example, in extensive ranching. So here in our case, yes, we would be able to find these things on time, but then of course you also have to spend your time going out and be with the animals. And I have to admit that is not what we do with these sheep. Because basically it's a job every day, you cannot really do anything else. Your job is then keeping these animals safe. And that is difficult. So I have to admit defeat here. And these sheep, right now, as you can see, they won't find a lot of food, which is why they come there to Sacagawea and steal her food. So again, there's no compassion. They just do whatever they need to do in order to survive themselves. That is how things work. And only a human can get in the way and direct and change things for the better, as long as the human is present. This is very unfortunate, and I'm not proud of any of that, but I'm just reporting. So that is the challenge. And of course you could not see this because it happened before I started filming. There are the other horses. The dogs just started a fight, and this time it were also the females. So basically they were biting each other. And it makes no sense, but it's a fight over rank, and they were bored, so that is what happened. And of course, in that case, I get in the way and I try to separate them, but then of course I don't want to participate. So that at the end, they will bite me. I guess they will not, because the rank is clear, but it's a challenge, and it's not pretty. And you see the birds there? Those are the magpies. They are going after what the dogs didn't eat, because I was a little bit fed up, and I just placed their food spread out widely on the ground so that they eat and won't fight over the food again, because usually they get this in the dog enclosure there. So there is always something, and most of these things, well, not most, but some of these things are frightening if you have no background information. And of course it makes no sense, except for them and within the constraints of their instincts. So you can educate animals a little bit, and so you can humans, but at some point the instincts will reign. And as long as they are in that state, basically locked out, only force will then stop it. And I will stop here because it gets ugly. So just that you know. And these ladies here have not moved, because I'm still standing here, and Sacagawea is not far away. The only thing they can steal now is the straw, which is not so bad. At least not for Sacagawea if she loses some of the straw, because the valuable food is secure. It had rained, so I hope that all these things here will soon start growing and green up. But we are between summer and the summer drought and autumn, and that means there is not a lot left or growing again. So this is difficult. And we do not have these sheep, just to complete that part, for anything productive. They are basically here because they are here. So initially we got 4 sheep from the neighbor just to have some animal, when it seemed that forage is abundant. And as you can see, this was only then, because that was during winter, when there's a lot of moisture. So there was a few times the thought to remove them, and we did remove some, but these 6 ladies, that's what's left, and we don't have any intention to do anything to them at the moment, and selling them to someone as breeding stock, for example, this doesn't work. Nobody wants them. So this is now basically an act of mercy, but it is difficult to keep it at a level of a mercy and not do them harm by starving them to death. So as you can see right now, there's not much. And I'm keeping this as a reserve for either Sakahawea or the sheep, or, and that was the original plan, for the chicken, once we can bring them here and actually do this. This is still planned, but it depends on other issues that I mentioned in previous videos. So right now we are in a pause, which is why I try to do things alone, which is also a good test. What can I do alone? And I don't want anything that I cannot manage myself, because as long as this is not a production facility, as long as we don't sell something frequently and really have production of some sort, it is a bad idea to be dependent on other people. Nothing against volunteers and such, but the moment you cannot manage things yourself, you have a problem. And then it becomes irresponsible. And now imagine I had to work and be on a project for a client. So this would not work. But then of course a high income means I can pay a lot of people, but then why should I? So there needs to be a reason, and I should probably make those videos that I had planned to explain where we come from and why and where this might be going to. But for now, for short, this is not a farm to produce and sell food and live off the production. This whole thing started for a different purpose and continues to be for a different purpose, because it is very hard with that to really produce something without producing that as a result. It appears that Mr. Cat has eaten everything. Before I grabbed the camera, I saw him go hiding behind the vetiver. Ah, there you can see him. He is watching, because on the other side there are the evil dogs. But he knows that this is the place where he can roam, and the dogs are on the other side. So let me show you this pond in a little bit more detail. So it gets water from the outflow of the water reservoir via that hose that I showed you. And Mr. Cat can no longer cross without swimming. So he's standing there meowing because he wants to come over here. Let's see what he does. Ah, see, he can jump. Okay, that is what he wanted. So let's give him a cuddle. And let's have a closer look and see. No, there's this problem. And he always gets into my legs and doesn't let me walk. I don't know why cats do that. Supposedly they want to be taken up, but the moment I do this, he wants to go down again. So it's a bit weird. I don't really understand cats. But then there is this difference between dog and cat people. So I guess I fall into the category of a dog person. But they are equally as difficult. So what you can see here, that we do have some wildlife. Right there's a dragonfly. Not sure if I can catch this. I might, but it's very difficult. So the thing that I wanted to show you is, my intention is to let this fill and fill until it goes into the overflow, and that overflow then is connected to that trench, and the trench goes all the way there to the other side. It won't go high because there it's already rising, but it will certainly fill the trench. And if it overflows, that's not a problem, because there is a lot of area that can make use of that additional moisture. Of course, we are expecting rain, and the idea is to saturate this ahead of time. And I will also show you the effect over there on the neighbor's land in a moment, because the other part down there has done something very interesting. You'll see in a moment. So before I take you there, over there to the left, I want to show you this. So the drip irrigation is now off for a few days, and a little bit of rain had not changed the whole thing. I just noticed frogs jumping into the water. So this has already fallen dry, but grasses are growing there. So this is a very positive thing. And my idea is to fill up the trench there to the right, so that the water also goes there to the left. And when it rains, then this will also fill. So maybe we can get by not using the drip irrigation here for the vetiver, because it has established itself and the resident moisture should be enough for the moment. And if not, I can turn it on again. So show you a little bit more. So this is where the drip irrigation is. There are two lines for the two lines of vetiver, and you can also see a challenge. So there is all this other stuff between the vetiver, and if the vetiver does not stay on top, it gets overwhelmed and then will die by being shaded out. So here there might be a need to do some maintenance by managing the succession of plants so that the vetiver will win. Well, a good example is that stuff there. So there might be a need to quickly chop this down. Maybe not today, but I need to keep an eye on it, because I want the vetiver to succeed. And once the vetiver is really established, then it's not a problem anymore. We did lose vetiver. And if you hear a squeaking sound, the dogs are still at it. So they still have something to discuss. But now I'm here and I won't get into this. So here there was a lot more vetiver originally, and then a lot of other stuff overwhelmed the young vetiver. And that, what you see, is what is left. So the plan is to fill this up again with vetiver, so that it becomes a field of vetiver for grazing as an end of summer ration for the horses and sheep in that case. And therefore it is important to plant the vetiver at the beginning of summer, provide irrigation and keep an eye on it and be proactive. And with the proactive part, we have had a challenge. And we can then also find things like that. This is plastic. This is the baling wire from the straw. And this should not be left to rot out in the country, because it will it will divide and separate, and then you have microplastic all over the place. And allow me to complain for a second. I can talk about this a lot, and people around here are not really conscious about that, and will then simply look the other way. And that attitude drives me crazy, which is why things are now going in a different way. So now let me show you the things over there. So all this is also the result, not from the rain, but the drip irrigation, especially on that side. And the vetiver likes it because it's a swamp grass, which can also grow in a desert. I know what the Edge of Nowhere farm is doing there in the Arizona desert. I am watching their channel and it's very nice what they do. But also you can see they are a production farm. So they do things in a sensible way and they produce and sell food and they have a huge benefit, which we don't have here. So for all those with good meaning comments, now pay close attention. There in Arizona, people have a different mindset. People come to a farm. They want to know where their food comes from. And they are willing and able, that is the big point, able, to pay a premium price. And also like to know this and be somehow involved. I've seen their farm tour, for example, where they had a lot of visitors. That is not the case here. People here in this area, I'm very sorry, they look for the money. They don't have the excess money to spend on high quality food. They have other needs, and if you happen to earn €1,000 a month, then you can afford more or less all the things that you want, but you will not buy directly from a farmer at a premium price. You will go to the supermarket and you will compare prices, because it's either buy an iPhone or buy food in the extreme case. But you get the drift. So the situation elsewhere you cannot transfer to this part of Spain. The premium customers you can find in Madrid and Barcelona and similar places in the huge metropolitan centers. We are in the empty part of Spain at the beginning of it. So things here are completely different, which is why those good ideas that I would love to implement, we cannot. So we need to find a different way. And after all, this did not start to be a working farm. Yes, the first video said building a farm from scratch, but farm in this case was basically referring to the general idea. Something happening in the countryside with animals and plants. But a working farm, a productive farm, being able to live off of it, that's a totally different story. And being not a farmer, this has never been my intention. But it's interesting, and I am learning a lot, and maybe eventually, and so it states also on Camito EU, it might evolve into that. But we're a long way away from that, so keep that in mind, please. So here we have the water, not from the rain, but the irrigation, and I will now take you over there. And see, there's another thing. Nobody cared to remove this. I will eventually, maybe, or when we resume, Angel and I, we make a pause at the moment. So I keep the lights on, so to say, and we talk and do things that we can do. And here and there he brings me some stuff, so that I don't have to drive. But things are on pause. The pause will be over, but it might be that it will take all the way up to the beginning of next year. But there's a lot of things happening. Oh, I saw a snake. Maybe you spotted it too. There was a movement in the water. So that's interesting. So this is an old well that the two families sharing this place here. So one was living on that side and the other on the other side. So there is the house of the family that owned this place. Now the 3 kids own it and they do nothing. They had this problem with the tenant, if some of you might remember. And the other family lived in this cortijo. So they shared this well and built it together somehow. But the thing that I want to show you is all this moisture there. And that is our moisture, so to say. So that is the result of that swale behind this berm where the trees are. being completely full, and also there's a small leak in that pipe. The leak is in the coupling, but this pipe is going to be replaced, so it's not a big issue. And this is excess water. It comes from the outflow of the water reservoir. The solar pump pumps all day. It does not cost a dime, so there's absolutely no problem with that moisture being spilled. If it were in summer, different story. But we are at a transition into autumn, and we are supposed to get some rain. So, as you can see, we are basically providing water to this piece. And now it would be very nice to have a collaboration with the neighbor. And the neighbor were planting things here to take advantage of this. But there is no neighbor working this, because that legal issue that the 3 older kids, they are now in their 80s, have with the former tenant is still ongoing. So the legal thing is that they believe, I'm not so sure about that, but they believe that they cannot do anything with their land until it has been given back to them in a formal way. And that has not happened, because then payment would be triggered, and the tenant does not want this. So everybody is dragging their feet, and there is no judge taking a decision, because apparently it's 2 cases with 2 different judges. And that's all I know, and I should not get into other people's business. But, as you can see, this is what then happens. So, it's nice that we have this moisture here, but it's not good for anything that would improve in the short run. So, but it points definitely to the function of a swale. So that is the water bubble. And of course, this well there is also a factor that contributes to it. So before it was dry, and now the thing is filled, as you can see, including a snake in it. And the palovnias there, they struggle a little bit, especially the ones in the back. There's not much that they can do at the moment. They grow, which is okay, but as you can see, they have yellow leaves, and it's a combination of lack of nutrients and moisture. But I hope that we can do a project here in this wannabe food forest and also take care of this issue there, so that this area becomes better established and better managed. But the other ones, they are looking great. So let me zoom in a little bit. Sorry for the shaking. So if I zoom in a little bit, see again, the viewfinder is my problem. It's pretty dark in comparison to the ambient light around. But you can see that these trees there, they are pretty tall. So definitely they have established themselves and probably are able to tap into any water source that is available. But we cannot turn off the irrigation. That is something that we learned. 1 year we did, but it was a little bit moister than this year, and that's a challenge. So over summer we learned that the irrigation definitely is still needed. This is way too open, so we can probably turn it off when we have a closed canopy. And for that we need to plant a lot more trees. I had some ideas to do this year, but for all of the different things combined, it wasn't possible. So I hope that in the upcoming spring we can do that. And maybe we can do this together. So some of you might want to participate.